Before it was a headline. Before it was a joke. Before it was something people chased with cameras. It was a warning. Long before the name Sasquatch ever existed, the forests already had a story, passed through generations, spoken carefully, but never ignored. Ancient people called it the Sasq'ets, the wild man. Not a creature to hunt, but something to respect. Across the continent, different tribes of all shapes and sizes have different names for this great, mysterious beast. With the same understanding, it moves like us, but faster. It thinks like us, but doesn't speak. It watches far more than it's ever seen. Welcome back to Season 4 of Project Black Garden, a Monsters and Myths podcast. The Nightshade Files. File number 001. Sasquatch. I'm your host, Michael, and I'm so excited that you've returned. But be prepared. This season is more devious, with more twists, but just as deadly. And it all starts now. Thank you for coming back. Shall we begin? Sasquatch, more commonly known as Bigfoot, is one of the most enduring and mysterious creatures in North American folklore. Described as a towering ape-like humanoid covered in dark hair, it is said to roam deep forests, particularly in the Pacific Northwest. Long before modern sightings, indigenous tribes across North America told stories of wild forest beings. Tribes like the Sts'ailes, the Lumi, and the Hoopa spoke of large, human-like creatures living beyond civilization. Some traditions describe them as protectors of nature, while others portray them as dangerous, child-stealing spirits. In California, Yokuts tribes told stories of the hairy man, even leaving behind pictographs in caves. These accounts were treated as myths, but as real beings sharing the land. The modern Bigfoot craze began in the 20th century. 1958, Bluff Creek, California. Large footprints found by loggers sparked national headlines. The term Bigfoot was born in the newspapers. In 1967, the famous Patterson-Gimlin film allegedly captured a walking Sasquatch, and it's still debated today. From there, Sasquatch became a global phenomenon, appearing in documentaries, TV shows, and films like Finding Bigfoot. There are several explanations for Sasquatch, though. Like number 1, a relic hominid theory. Some believe Bigfoot is a surviving species of ancient ape-like Gigantopithecus and suggest it evolved to avoid humans. Number 2, misidentifications. Sightings may be bears, especially when standing upright. Environmental conditions such as fog and darkness distort perception. Number 3, hoaxes. Fake footprints, costumes, and staged videos. Some famous cases have been admitted hoaxes. And finally, number 4, the paranormal theory. Some believe Sasquatch is not entirely physical, and he may be linked to UFOs, interdimensional beings, or spirits tied to the land. Today, Sasquatch exists in a strange space between folklore, science, and fear. Thousands of sightings are reported every year. No confirmed physical evidence has been universally accepted. Yet, belief persists across cultures and generations. Now, Sasquatch has had some of the most iconic cryptid encounters in history, such as the Bluff Creek and Patterson-Gimlin film. This is arguably the most famous Bigfoot evidence ever captured, and is still argued about today. Filmed in Bluff Creek, California by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin, it shows a large, hairy humanoid walking across a riverbed, then glancing back over its shoulder toward the camera. The creature, nicknamed Patty, moves with a strangely natural gait. Even decades later, experts still debate whether it's a real unknown creature or one of the greatest hoaxes ever made. The Ape Canyon incident of 1924, one of the earliest and most violent encounters on record. It took place near Mount St. Helens in Washington. A group of miners reported being attacked overnight by large ape-like creatures. Their cabin was bombarded with rocks as if under siege. This technically wasn't just a sighting. It suggested organized, aggressive behavior, something far beyond a simple animal encounter. The Bosberg Cripplefoot tracks of 1969, a strange and unsettling discovery found in Bosberg, Washington. Hundreds of footprints in the snow, all from a creature with a deformed foot. The consistency of the tracks suggested a real, injured creature, not a hoax, since faking that level of detail repeatedly would be extremely difficult. Those tracks are still discussed to this very day. The Skookum cast of 2000. One of the most controversial physical pieces of evidence. Discovered in Skookum Meadow, Washington. A large impression in the ground believed to be from a creature lying down. It included details like muscle shapes and possible hair imprints. Some claim it's the best physical evidence ever found. Others argue it's just an elk impression. And finally, the Bluff Creek footprints of 1958. It's the sighting that started it all. Giant footprints discovered by loggers in Northern California. It led to widespread media coverage, and it coined the name Bigfoot. This event alone launched Bigfoot into mainstream culture and sparked decades of investigations, which have led us to the modern sightings in this podcast and the Black Garden Files. Thousands of sightings continue today. Reports from hikers, hunters, and campers across the US and Canada. Strange vocalizations, wood knocks, and shadowy figures. Some claim UFO activity coincides with sightings. Despite technology and surveillance, Sasquatch remains unconfirmed to the public. Or some say, uncontained. All right, fellow gardeners, the file that lies before me goes back to when my great Uncle Sam was merely a captain, but definitely not a newbie when it came to run-ins with cryptids. And these are my great-uncle's words. There are two kinds of people who disappear in the wilderness: the unlucky and the ones who go looking for something they were not to find. This file is about the second kind. When my great-uncle Sam and his team intercepted the distress call, it was already 3 days old. The caller never identified himself. It was just static, heavy breathing, and one ominous sentence. "We found it, and I think it led us." The transmission ended with screaming, then silence. The group called themselves the North Ridge Cryptid Society, made up of 7 civilians, a school teacher, a mechanic, 2 former Marines, a wildlife photographer, and a YouTube personality with nearly 1 million subscribers. And finally, their leader, Ethan, a self-proclaimed Bigfoot expert who spent 15 years chasing stories no one else believed. Now, he had produced evidence that the mainstream media tore apart, but some of it could never be explained. And according to the footage recovered from their cameras, they had proof. And they believed they were the hunters. And that's what doomed them all. By the time my team reached the Olympic Peninsula, the force felt wrong. The wind wasn't blowing, birds weren't calling, and even the insects had gone silent. The only sound was our boots sinking into rain-soaked earth. Now, I've spent 20 years chasing things the public isn't supposed to know exist, and every instinct I had screamed at me to leave. But I ignored it. We found their camp just before sunset. No tents had collapsed, and there was no signs of any struggle. Coffee still sat inside a metal mug. One lantern remained lit despite 3 days of rain. But it was obvious someone had left in a hurry, or been taken. The first body was 50 yards away. I almost stepped on him. He'd been placed, not thrown, against the roots of a cedar tree. His camera still hung around his neck. He was young and fit, and wore an expression. It's an expression I'll never forget. This young man hadn't died screaming. He died staring. Eyes locked on something towering over him. And whatever he'd seen, terror had frozen into his face. The others weren't far. Each body was separated from the next, never piled together, never hidden, almost as if they were being displayed, like trail markers or a warning. My medic whispered, "Why spread them out?" And when no one on the team answered him, deep down, I think we all already knew. When you hunt the unbelievable, it usually never ends well. That's when we found the memory cards. Hours of footage. Most of it was exactly what you'd expect. Shots of footprints, endless hours of broken branches, excited whispers, laughter, man-made chaos. Then, suddenly, they found tracks. Very fresh ones. Nearly 20 inches long. Cole looked directly into the camera and with a big, wide smile said, I think it's following us. He said it like he had won the lottery. That mood changed overnight, though. The cameras caught knocking, first faintly, then more abruptly. 3 knocks, then another answer from somewhere farther away. It was as if they were surrounded. The former Marines thought another research group was playing games with them, which made Ethan very angry. But he disagreed, and with a wry smile on camera, he said, "I think it's communicating." But no, he was wrong. It was measuring them. The final recording began at 2:17 a.m. It was taken in night vision, in the rain. As the drops fell, everyone was awake, but no one was speaking. The sound of thunder was in the background and heavy on the speakers. Then something moved between the trees. It never fully entered the frame. It didn't have to. It was enormous, far taller than any bear, with broad, muscular shoulders, long arms, too long, dark fur that disappeared into the forest every time the camera tried to focus. And the rain only made the image more unstable. Someone behind the camera whispered, "It's beautiful." Then the knocking stopped. The silence that followed was somehow even worse. The first scream came from behind the cameraman. The lens whipped around and found nothing. Then another scream, this one closer. Flashlights bounced wildly everywhere. People on screen scattered. It's exactly what a predator would want. The last clear image showed Ethan standing alone. Not running, not filming, just looking upward, as if something was standing directly in front of him. He whispered one final sentence. "It was watching us the whole time." Then the camera hit the ground. The audio continued for 43 seconds. There were heavy footsteps and branches breaking. People calling out for each other's names. Then, swiftly, there was nothing. Not another scream, just the sound of pouring rain. I shut the recorder off, and no one spoke. In the forest around us, it felt occupied again, like we had interrupted something. And that's when we first heard it. One knock. One solid strike against wood. It was deep, powerful, impossible to mistake. Every member of my team froze, ready for action. Another knock answered from somewhere to our left. Then another, but this one behind us. Instantly, I thought, this isn't just one creature. Or maybe it is one creature moving impossibly fast. I glanced toward the ridgeline. At first, I thought it was another tree, but then it moved, slowly, deliberately. A massive silhouette unfolded from the shadows. Its head brushed low, hanging branches. Its shoulders were impossibly broad. Its dark eyes fixed on me, but not with anger. And it definitely was not frightened of me or my team. And in those eyes, I recognized something. intelligence. It was calculating. Even as I raised my rifle, it didn't react. Instead, it tilted its head, methodically, human-like, like it was trying to remember where it had seen me before. Then I took one step forward, trying not to shake. The ground felt wobbly beneath my boots, but something welled up inside of me, a stupid courage or instinct that I, somehow, had finally won the standoff. I whispered to my team, "Fall back." No one argued. And then we all backed away without turning around. Slowly, it felt like minutes, even though it was only seconds. But the creature, it never charged. It never roared. Unbelievably, it never threatened us at all. It simply watched, making absolutely certain we understood one thing. We were leaving because it was allowing us to. The moment we reached the tree line, it vanished. Not into the darkness, but into the silence, as if it had never been there. And for a split second, I wondered if it had been. Doing this job, people have asked me many times if I believe in Sasquatch. But I feel like they're asking the wrong question. Belief doesn't matter. Respect does. Because somewhere in those forests, there's something that has survived every attempt to find it. Not because it's hiding, because it knows exactly when to be seen, and exactly when not to. I still hear those knocks sometimes, usually in some random dream, but sometimes when I'm awake. That's why I don't like being stationed in the Pacific Northwest. But every time I hear those knocks, I remember the expression on Ethan's face. He thought he had found a legend, but instead, the legend had found him. All right, listeners, I'm going to end this episode with the official operation report that technically should not be shared, but I think my great uncle would want me to. Location: Olympic Peninsula, Washington. Date: October 18th, 1992. Incident summary: Black Garden response team deployed following the disappearance of 7 civilian cryptid researchers operating without authorization in a restricted wilderness sector. Personnel located the abandoned campsite and recovered 7 deceased individuals. They were dispersed across approximately 1.3 kilometers of forest. No conventional evidence of animal or human involvement could be conclusively established. Multiple electronic devices contained audio and video recordings documenting repeated wood knock sequences, reports of persistent surveillance by an unidentified bipedal subject, and the eventual collapse of group cohesion during a nighttime encounter. Field observations: the subject not directly engaged. Estimated height 8 to 10 feet. Estimated weight 700 to 900 pounds. Demonstrated exceptional environmental awareness and stealth, and displayed apparent curiosity rather than indiscriminate aggression toward Black Garden personnel. Visual contact maintained for approximately 30 plus seconds before subject withdrew without pursuit. 7 casualties, civilian. Full assessment. Evidence suggests civilian fatalities occurred after prolonged pursuit of the unidentified subject and repeated intrusion into its established territory. Subject behavior indicates advanced intelligence, strategic movement, and a preference for observation before engagement. Final directive. Further expeditions into the incident area are prohibited without top secret authorization. All right, listeners. I wanted to personally thank you for coming back. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Season 4, The Nightshade Files. I hope you join us next time when we attack a very well documented but somewhat unknown phenomenon. So come back next time when we discuss the Night Marchers. As always, I'm your host, Michael, and this has been Project Black Garden, a Monsters and Myths podcast. And as always, remember, monsters are real, and legends exist because someone survived long enough to tell the story.